Biodun Ogunyemi, founder of Optimine Method and creator of Dream Yourself In, and welcome to video 2 in this series. This is a free series, so you can watch it as many times as you like and you can take as much as you want out of this series. Now, what I'd like to really cover tonight is, where are you right now? Right in this moment, where are you in your life in terms of losing weight, in terms of achieving your goal? Where are you? And where do you want to be? You see, because where you are is the current situation, and the steps in between, there could be 1, there could be 2, there could be 3, 4, 5 steps in between to get you to where you need to be. And often what happens when people commence this journey, what happens is they consider where they are right now and they consider where they want to be. And you can't take one step. Sometimes you can, but you can't really get there in one step. You see, it took a while for the weight to go on, so just like it took a while for it to go on, it takes time for it to come off depending on what your goal is. So I want you to really consider, the first thing is deciding where are you right now in terms of this journey. And I'll construct a roadmap for you so you can have something to follow, so you can have a path to follow. So the first thing is, where are you? Where do you want to be? Exactly where do you want to be? How will you look when you get there? How will you feel when you get there? What will be different about you? What things will you be doing differently? And most importantly, what will it actually do for you? So in other words, if you want to change your shape, you want to lose weight, what will that actually do for you? How will it make you feel? What's going to be different from the way you feel right now? Now, on this journey, you've got so many different steps in between. The first step could be just dropping the first 2 pounds. The next step could be dropping a whole clothes size. The next step could be doing some exercise if you want to do exercise. The next step could be introducing things into your life that you don't do anymore. So there's all these steps in between, but the very first step is the most important. The very first step is that baby step in the right direction, and that's just making a commitment to do that first step. Just one thing, because when you do one thing, then the rest will probably follow. So the first thing is, on this journey, first thing is deciding and thinking about what's the obstacles, what are the things that are holding me back? What kind of things can hold me back? Think about the journey you've been on in the past and think, what things have held me back in the past? You know, is it willpower, for example, that's held you back? Or is it the fact that you get distracted? Is it the fact that something happened in your life, maybe a trauma, or maybe a new addition to the family? So just deciding what are the obstacles that could actually stop you from achieving your goal. Because a lot of people start on their goal and they're so motivated and they're confident, and very quickly they can run out of steam. So there needs to be something that keeps you motivated every single day, every single moment. And you're enjoying the process. You want to really enjoy the process, because if you're feeling good about yourself and you're enjoying the process, then it's a lot easier to achieve. And there's so many obstacles that could be stopping you. It could be that you become over anxious at times. It could be that perhaps you're overly stressed. It could be that sometimes you get bored at night and you find yourself just eating, or you find comforts in eating for whatever reason. So there's so many obstacles in your path. It could be that you're one of these people that you just don't like to eat healthy things, and that's fine. It's deciding what are these obstacles, possibly even writing down the obstacles and saying, well, these are all the things that could stop me, and these are all the things that have stopped me in the past. And that's critical to your success. So knowing what kind of things have stopped you in the past from getting there. You see, previously you might have been close to achieving your goal, or there might have been a reason why you needed to achieve the goal. So I would really consider that and really write that down. The next step is, what's the number one thing that's causing you right now not to reach this goal? Or what's the number one thing that's stopping you from making this decision? Or what's the number one thing that can stop you dead in your tracks? And when you think about that, it could be something in your past. It could be that your habits and behaviours are so ingrained, and you keep on doing these things because you get comfort in them. So what are the causes? What are the causes? What led you on this journey to put the weight on in the first place? And really considering that and considering the actual cause itself, you start thinking outside the box. Start thinking, well, if only I could be different in some way, what would it be like? So thinking about that cause. The next thing is, what skills do you currently have? In other words, what resources do you have? Are you a person that's really disciplined? Because if you're really disciplined, then that can assist in your journey. Are you a person that's not disciplined? And if you're a person that's not disciplined, that can also assist in your journey. You see, because what we're not trying to influence, we're not trying to influence the conscious part of your mind. The conscious part of your mind is like the part of your mind that makes decisions, the logical part of your mind. Whereas the unconscious or the subconscious part of your mind is the part of your mind that deals with your emotions. It runs the blood flow through your body, it keeps your heartbeat pumping, it keeps you breathing. You don't really need to think about it, it's automatic. So I want you to really think about that. What skills do you currently have at the moment? What resources do you have? You might be a person that's really confident, so if you can be confident doing one thing, then there's a possibility you can be confident in so many other areas of your life right now. And these skills can help you. You see, everybody has skills. It's just sometimes you don't recognize the skills. So I want you to really consider, what skills have you got right now that could assist you? Maybe you're somebody that likes to do a lot of exercise. That's a skill that could be useful. Maybe you're someone that doesn't like to do any exercise, and recognizing that, that's fine. So if you don't like doing exercise, for example, then there's no point in saying, well, every night I'm going to force myself to go to the gym. And when you force yourself to go to the gym, if you feel bad about it, then you've got to ask, well, how long will that last? So again, it's thinking through these steps one by one. The next thing is really considering, what's the consequences? What's the long-term consequences or the short-term consequences of me going on this journey? In other words, when I think 6 months down the line, how do I see myself? When I think a year down the line, how do I see myself? When I think of myself 2 years down the line, what do I see? And then 5 years down the line, what do I see? And really thinking about what's the consequences of one, going on this journey and actually making sure that you get there, and also what's the consequences of going on this journey and not getting there, or not making this decision to lose weight or to change your shape, but just if you continue doing the same thing that you're doing just now, what's the consequences of that? You know, when you consider yourself in 6 months' time, you look in the mirror, what do you see? A year's time, a year down the line, if you continue doing the same behaviour that you're doing just now, then what do you see? What do you see 5 years down the line, maybe even 10 years down the line? Do you see somebody that looks healthy and happy? Do you see somebody that looks vibrant, or do you see somebody that looks weak and overweight and with no energy whatsoever? So what do you see when you consider yourself in the short term, maybe 6 months down the line, maybe 1 year down the line, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, and really thinking that through, like maybe a year down the line, I could be the person that I really want to be. I could have achieved that goal, and I could be living the dream that I want to live. So just really consider that. The next step, the next consideration is the goal itself. The goal, the overall outcome. In other words, when you reach that goal, how will you be? What will you be doing differently? What will the goal assist you with? What will it give you? Will it make you somebody that's more confident? Will it make you be more motivated in your everyday life? Will it just make you feel good? Will it make you feel healthier or fitter? Will it allow you to do things that you don't do just now? Perhaps you want to do things with, if you've got children, maybe you want to do things with children that you don't do. Maybe you want to see yourself being on holiday and being able to enjoy yourself without thinking about your weight or your size. So what's it going to give you overall? What's your underlying reason to actually begin this journey to reach this outcome? And the outcome should be well defined. It should be really specific as you can make that goal. So in 6 months' time, my first step might be X, and you write it down, and you just write exactly what you want, how you want to be, write exactly what you want to achieve. And it doesn't necessarily, it's not all about getting on the scales. It's all about how you feel about yourself. That's the most important thing. If you're feeling good about yourself and things are happening, then the scales will follow anyway. So it's not always about the scales, it's more about how you feel about yourself. So really considering your outcome. And thinking for a moment, when I get here, what's going to be completely different in my life? And in other words, how will this change my life for the better? Because if you can't answer that question, then how do you expect to commence the journey in the first place? You see, it's a bit like me taking, going on a journey, for example, and arrive at the airport to maybe travel down to London, for example. Now, there's so many different aircraft on the tarmac, and if I just go on the very first aircraft that I come to, then it might take me to London, it might not. So the point is, a lot of the time, the way we run our lives, we know exactly what we're doing, we know exactly what time we're doing it, or we're meant to be doing it, we don't always follow through. So we're always planning. So if you're always planning ahead, then it can really make a difference. So knowing exactly down to the finest of finest planning of exactly what you'll be doing. And on this journey, it doesn't mean you need to stick to everything, because that doesn't usually work. It's a conscious thing that we need to stick to it day in, day out. And really that doesn't happen, because what happens is your ability to be able to fall off track and get back on track is what's useful. You see, if you speak to people that are happy with their weight, happy with their size, you'll find that they have different strategies for dealing with certain things. For example, if they find that they've overdone it one night, then what they do is the next day they say, right, okay, I'm just going to cut back for a day or so. So they've got these strategies that they do, and sometimes they don't even know they're doing them, because their habits and behaviours are ingrained. But it's just as possibly a better habit and behaviour that they've got than some other people have got. So they're constantly monitoring how they feel. They're constantly making adjustments. So just like on this journey, if I get on that plane, it takes me to London, then that's great. But what happens if I got on the plane and it doesn't take me to London? You see, I could be anywhere, I could end up anywhere. So the main thing is, if you're planning, then you know exactly what you're doing. And they say that an aircraft anyway from Glasgow to London, 90% of the time it's off course, and it's the last portion of the journey it turns on course to land. So I want you to consider this journey, that every so often you will fall off track. Every so often you'll find yourself doing certain things, going back to behaviours that you had previously. And it really doesn't matter, because if just 80% of the time you're remaining focused and on track, it's almost like you can remain completely focused in the zone, knowing what you want to achieve, knowing what your outcome is, having a clear picture of your outcome, how you feel, how you be, what you see, what you hear, having that clear picture every single day. You know, for some people, you see some people, they look at pictures from their past when they were slimmer, or they have this picture in their mind, or they have some sort of saying on their fridge, or somewhere, something that they can see every single day that can remind them. So you want something that can remind you about this goal every single day, and every time you think about this goal, you want to feel good about it. Because when you feel good about it, then you begin to move towards it. You see, where your attention goes, energy flows. So as you're on this journey, and every so often you fall off track, and it's about picking yourself back up and carrying on this journey. Every so often you might take one step back, you might take 2 steps back, you might take 1 step forward. And as I said, the current situation is the most important thing. Admitting where you are just now, admitting all the things that haven't worked, admitting all the things you've tried and possibly have got you close to your goal but haven't quite worked, and then realising that, okay, maybe it's time to consider something different. Maybe it's time that I change from the inside instead of changing everything externally, because if you change from the inside, then the change will last for good. And all of us know examples of people that have lost a substantial amount of weight. One of my clients has actually lost 6 stone. 6 stone, and I think it took him about 1.5 years to get rid of 6 stone, which is a substantial amount of weight. And he's never looked back. He's never looked back. It's completely changed his life. And I want you to think about that. This is something that could literally change your life. But you need the right roadmap, you need the right support, you need to be on the right journey, and realising that every so often, yeah, you fall off track. And this should really give you something to think about. What obstacles you face, what are the causes of the current situation, what are the advantages right now of you being overweight. Is there any advantages? For some people there might be some advantages in being the way they are. What are the reasons behind it? Sometimes you might not even know the reasons consciously, but there may be some reasons behind you being the way you are. What skills do you currently have? What resources do you have available to you? Are you a person that can be really driven? Are you a really strong-minded person? Are you a really confident person? And then considering, well, if you're really strong-minded, how can you use that strong mind to drive you forward in the right direction? Drive you forward so that you race towards that goal. And you have that focused state of attention. What are the consequences of not doing anything? Just staying the way you are, doing nothing at all. What do you see when you consider yourself looking in a mirror in 6 months' time? You see people go around and they complain about, oh, I just seem to be putting weight on, I don't know why this is happening. But the truth of the matter is they're doing something to make that happen. And unless they change it, unless they stop doing what they're doing, then it's never going to change. So you need to think of what are the consequences if I keep on doing this? What are the consequences if I don't do anything? What are the consequences over the next 3 months, over the next 6 months? And then really thinking about what are the consequences of doing something about it, of actually deciding, making that decision. A decision means to cut, to make that decision that that's it. I'm doing this, and believing that you can do it. And really think about that. And then it's really focusing on that outcome, having a clear picture of your outcome, knowing exactly what you'll look like, knowing exactly all the things you'll be doing different, knowing exactly what's your highest intention in having this goal in the first place. And I guarantee you, if you spend some time just thinking about this, maybe spending half an hour and going through this video and just writing down, you know, a number of these and maybe just considering it, then I guarantee you that you'll start to think differently and you'll start to change in some way. Because you either make the decision to go on this journey and do it, or you make the decision that you're not going to do it. And at least whatever decision you'll make, you know exactly what the outcome, the consequences are. So I hope that you've really enjoyed this second video in this series, and I'll see you in the next video.